We're going to be making the head for the unicorn backpack. The head's the main difference between the unicorn backpack and the actual dragon backpack in construction. So we've got wash-away stabilizer in the hoop. We're putting a layer of bag stabilizer and a layer of batting on top of the placement lines we've stitched. And then we will stitch around, make sure we haven't got any folds or movement, and then trim our seam allowances around the edge of our batting back to 1 to 2 millimeters from the stitching line. So across the top and also around the bottom curve. Let's place our piece of vinyl on top of our batting, and this will stitch down in 2 sections. Now trim the middle section between these 2 areas out 1 to 2 millimeters from the stitching line. Go all the way out to the edge of the fabric, and then we're going to stitch a placement line for our next piece of fabric. Before we do that though, we're going to put a positioning marker for the ears. Now the ear goes on square to the hoop, not to the line that we've marked out with stitches. Once you're happy with its position, then triple stitch it into place. Take our washi tape off, so you'll see it's not parallel to the bottom of the ear, it's on an angle. That's so as the ear doesn't go over to the stitching line on the left hand side. Now trim the excess off. So we sit when we've got our positioning marker line, we sit our stitching just below it, and we use the outside area of the ear, left or right, to match the outside stitching positioning line. Again, once our ears are into position, triple stitch them, remove the washi tape, and trim back the excess ear that's in that valley in between those 2 sections. Now we've got a layer of fabric and a layer of mylar. You can either tape these down or just hold them down. It's a very small section, so holding is quite sufficient. When we actually put our stippling stitch into mylar, best to actually leave the mylar untrimmed until the stitching is finished. Again, clear, trim back to 1 to 2 millimeters from the stitching. Just want to hold our ears down so as they don't move around or don't get caught. Satin stitch on the edge of that center section. Placement positioning marker for the unicorn horn, and then stitch it into place. And that's a curve seam. Just make sure the top of the unicorn horn is centered with your hoop, so it's not off to one side. Trim any excess, and then we're going to stitch over top of this. The unicorn horn has been made on wash away as well, so those edges will actually be free of stabilizer once the whole unit has been soaked and washed. Adding our embellishment onto our center section. Now we're going to bring it to life by adding some facial details. We've got nostrils, some eye creases or eyelashes, depending on what you're looking at. Then we've got the eye. The eyes are quite layered with different amounts of satin stitch to give them depth and a real look. And the glisten in the eyes are little stars. Got our eyebrows. And finally our stars in our eyes. Few embellishments here and there, so we're going to actually remove our washi tape from under that was holding the ears down. We're going to actually hold the horn down, and we're going to hold the ears down so they don't get caught up when we're adding our mane to the top of the head. Lots of washi tape sticks that down because it's quite firm. We don't want anything flicking up in the way of the foot or getting caught with any stitching. Right, so we're going to wind off some yarn, and we're using as much or as little as you want. There's no rhyme or reason or recipe here. We're cutting 20-inch lengths. You might want to undo a whole ball of yarn, or you might have some chenille, you might have something totally different from what we're using for the mane. But we're wanting to incorporate as much colour into this as possible. So it was 20-inch lengths. Then we're going to divide them up into 3 sections because we've got 3 lines, and we want to, with the first third of that bulk of yarn, you want to open it out, spread it out like spaghetti along the line, and it will get caught into the place with our first row of stitching. We're working from left to right with our rows of stitching. So we're going to stitch that into position first with just a single row of stitching, and then once you're happy, it can reverse back on itself and do a triple stitch to hold that yarn into place. Once this is completed, remove the washi tape. Washi tape and yarn are not friends, so sometimes it's hard to get out. Might need to involve some tweezers. And then we'll do the comb over to the left hand side and prep our next row of yarn for our middle row of here. If there's some gaps, it doesn't matter. There's plenty of yarn here to actually create the hair of the mane. That one's completed. Again, remove the washi tape. Might want to enlist the help of some tweezers. Right, then again, comb over to the left hand side. We're going to do our last row. A few different colours in this one. We've got some green as well. Spread it out evenly, or as even as you can. Again, don't worry too much about gaps. stitch our straight line and then our triple stitch to hold everything into place. Right, take that washi tape away. See how it catches to the yarn fibres. Right. So we need to put some, we're going to put our mane into a hair tie, which could be just a bit of elastic or a rubber band or even just tie it up with some ribbon. We're going to place our lining on the back of the head, firmly put it together or stitch it down or stick it down to the back of the hoop with some washi tape. We do it on all sides. So you pot it on, then press firmly on it, turn it over, and we're going to stitch it into position. Just beware of that ear. That ear can get in the way of the foot if it's too far over. Okay, one side and not the other. Now we're going to stick that ear down again, and that one as well, just to keep them out of the way of the foot, because we're going to be doing some satin stitch to finish the edge of the head. Plenty of washi tape. Turn the work over and we're going to trim round the edge of our front face, again 1 to 2 millimeters away from the stitching. Just take your time. We want nice gentle curve, because this is going to be then satin stitched to finish. We're going to do the same with the back lining. So the top of that lining is open so that you can put a magnetic clasp on to close the backpack lid, which is the head. Just keep that washi tape into place so it doesn't come adrift while you're stitching. And then we're going to do our understitching and then our satin stitch on top to finish the edge of the head. Trim closely to our satin stitch, don't nick the satin stitch please. Then it will be ready for soaking so as our edges can be cleaned up and then held aside until we need it for our backpack. Very pretty. A very fun project.
Thank you so much for watching our video tutorial on creating the head for the unicorn backpack. While we didn't provide a complete tutorial this time, we have a similar project called Blaze the Dragon Backpack, for which we have a comprehensive video guide available. You can find the link to that video tutorial in the description below. If you found this video tutorial helpful, please show your support by liking and subscribing. You can also purchase these two beautiful backpack designs swpea.com. Thank you so much.